continuing exploration of the cultures and people we share the country with. Colorful encounters with Filipinos who can, if we let them, enrich our own worldviews, our knowledge of ourselves. Nourishing, sheltering, healing, adorning, celebrating the manifold ways of being Filipino. This is Dayaw, our knowledge, our pride. The house as shelter, as a womb, a space where safety, security, and tradition are nurtured. In the homes of different indigenous Filipinos, we see responses to the environment they live in. And these environments are not always the kindest or the most nurturing. And yet, Filipinos have survived, thrived even, emerging from the homes they have built, ready to face the world and the challenges of adapting to nature at her kindest, at her most volatile. The vistas of Batanes are both beautiful and savage. The Pacific Ocean, from whence many of the strongest typhoons emerge. The vast rolling hills and mountain ranges, protective yet challenging. The Ivatan have long built houses that adapt to this environment. Austere, box-like, built of stone and lime and kogon.
Ito yung
Mariano Etsa of Barangay Tabayan has built many houses like these. He is one of the few remaining stone masons in Batanes.
Pag gumawa ka ng Batanes house, yung namin dito, mula sa pundasyon, kailangan maghanda ka ng mga bato, saka buhangin, saka yung ginagamit namin pandikit nung araw dito, hindi semento, kundi yung apog. Gumawa kami ng kahoy, saka yung limestone, saka iluluto. Yung bako, yung pinagdikit namin dito, hindi semento, apog ito eh. Tawag namin dito apog. Ang sa Ivatan yung apog, amad. Kasi yung umpisa niyan, hindi mo basta-basta patungan ng patungan kasi hindi karakarang kang matuyo yung apog eh.
Aside from the lime mortar, kogon fiber is another distinctive feature of the Ivatan house. Kogon roofing measures almost a yard in thickness in the Ivatan houses. Such roofing is said to last as long as 25 years.
Yung Ivatan house, pag taglamig, kung ano yung lamig niyan, pag tag-init, malamig. Katamtaman yung taglamig, katamtaman yung lamig sa ilalim. Pag nagsara mo yung mga pintuan mo, hindi masyado malamig. Yung katamtaman lang. Hindi katulad ng ibang yung subukan nyo yung yero. Kahit sara mo yung pintuan mo, yung dun sa ng yero, talagang papasok sa Pero ito hindi. Kahit yung mainit, subukan mo sa ilalim magtulog dyan. Pag maas, talagang malamig. Ang pakinig ko sa matatanda, ito'y pang typhoon proof. Kasi nung araw dito, napakalalakas ang bagyo dito sa amin eh. Perhaps in the face of climate change, the Ivatan will have to develop homes which will respond just as well to the new norm.
Among the Kalinga of the Cordillera, homes are compact, one-level structures that house the hearth, sleeping, and storage areas. The homes are elevated, and the undersides are multifunctional spaces. In olden days, the open undersides were fortified by piles of logs, which served to stabilize the house from earthquakes. A distinctive feature of the Kalinga house is a slatted floor, which can be removed from the house frame to allow a more thorough cleaning. A rare type is binayon, an octagonal-shaped house that used to be plentiful in Upper Kalinga. The 8-sided homes represent a much older type of Kalinga house. Many of the traditional homes in the Cordillera share the characteristics of the Kalinga home: compact, elevated, and one-room structures. A multifunctional, open lower space. With such an economy of space usage, what is life like? Much has been said about how these traditional homes like the Apayao, Binuron, and the Ifugao bale are meant only for sleeping, cooking, and storage. As life is lived in the open community spaces, in the fields and paddies. The very old home of David Candelario and Ifugao Mombaki in Baynina near Banawe shows how wealthy Ifugao incorporated objects of beauty and prestige into their small spaces. The 3 bale, owned by his family, have been standing since the early 20th century. In the main house, 2 of the pillars have been replaced. These distinct pillars were made from tree trunks and ended in circular fixtures called rat guards, which, aside from balancing the frame of the house, also served as protection from rats. The peaked cogon roofs have also been replaced by galvanized iron sheets. Though hot in the summer, David says that the family chose this concession to modernity simply because metal roofing does not catch fire, a problem with the traditional cogon roof. How does such a home proclaim the status of the owners? Outside, under the eaves, the carabao and pig skulls are reminders of how the Candelario family used to throw many feasts to feed the community. Among the Ifugao, such feasts often left the host family with nothing more than the skull of the butchered animals as proof of their generosity. Inside the bale, the wood panels are dark with soot, but there are still reminders of the family's rank as wealthy Kadangyan. These fixtures were commissioned by David's parents, and in order to own such fixtures, a ritual feast had to be thrown. Amidst these remnants of a wealthy past are the sheaves of rice that nourish and ensure the survival of David and his family, as well as the bulol pair, the granary guardians that watch over the store of rice and the old home and its treasures. The folk song summed up the most charming of the bahay kubo's qualities when it described the number of flowering plants that grow around it. The bahay kubo is identified with the farmer, with the fields, and with the agricultural life. The materials it is built of, bamboo, sawali, nipa, and kogon, link it closely to the environment of plains and fields and orchards. During the rainy season, the stilts and elevation make the house adapt to the changing water levels. Here is a home that is sustainable, adaptable, and beautiful. With so many time and environment-tested strengths in a bahay kubo, it is no wonder that other houses inhabited by other Filipinos share the same traits as the bahay kubo. Their differences dictated only by specifics in the environments. The Tiboli has built houses that adapt to the rolling, hilly terrain of Lake Cebu. The standard Tiboli house, in which weaver Barbara Ofong lives and works, is an elevated, rectangular structure held up by wood and bamboo columns. The elevation keeps the inhabitants safe from foraging wild animals and floods. Inside, the space is divided into a series of raised platforms, all fronting a lower activity space. In Barbara's home, this lower space is where she and her niece Sima have set up their looms. The raised platforms are used for different activities by Barbara's other nieces. Here they prepare the abaca threads for the loom. At night, these raised platforms also double as sleeping areas. A notable feature is the windows, large, square frames of bamboo, which are raised from the bottom side by a long rod. The window allows for the gradual adjustment of light entering the house. It also protects the inhabitants from the strong rains while allowing for light. The Tiboli build different structures, all adaptable to different terrains and functions.
Everyone is welcome to Gonohofo, and you, visitor God, will bless you. So it's a privilege you come to my place. You see my small house, Gonoudi. So Gonoudi, where I used to rest when I am in the field and do planting the different kinds and varieties of palay. And then welcome to Gonohofo, the long-legged house, where the old folk used to stay when there was critical situation before. So, and then the Lawig Tonok, where our old folks stay when there is typhoon and earthquakes.
Okay.
Then the Angat there, it narrates that where to watch Maya birds.
The grand bahay na bato may seem like distant, unreachable Ilustrado cousins who who want nothing to do with their taga-bukid kin. But the similarities are undeniable. We don't see it immediately, of course. We see only that the bahay na bato is bigger, richer, more spacious, more solid. But while the bahay na bato may seem very different, they have in fact adhered to the principles that have kept the bahay kubo so relevant and environment-friendly.
One of the most admirable achievements of the Filipinos is the wonder of Philippine houses. There's much variety, yet all of them are based on the idea of the bahay kubo. Why is the bahay kubo the quintessential Filipino house? Because it's so adapted to the climate, to the kind of weather that we have in the Philippines. The bahay kubo is built on stilts, so that even if there is flood, the people living in the house will not be affected by the floods. But more so, I don't think it's really as a protection against floods. In many parts of the country, the stilts are really designed to protect the occupants from animals who may want to enter the house, especially rats. One advantage of this raised house is that the floor of the house is usually made of slatted floors, very good for ventilation. In other parts of the Philippines, you find the same basic structure, although in the Visayas, you'll find the windows covered with patterns. No? The window panes are covered with very interesting bamboo patterns, and you will find very, very creative ways of doing this in the Visayas, especially in Panay. When the Spaniards came, we had to build houses where the lower floor is made of stone, the upper floor is made of wood. This evolved into the so-called ancestral house. But the ancestral house is still basically the bahay kubo. It's not Spanish. Definitely it's Philippine because it's still adapted to the climate. Therefore, the result of adaptability, creativity in response to the Spanish hamleting that occurred during the Spanish period. So you find a variety, and depending on the need, you find different styles of houses in the Philippines. Really very, very adapted to the way Filipinos live.
For many Filipinos, a home that one can be proud of is one built in the Western style, with materials that are meant to last a lifetime for the purpose of protecting one's privacy or a shield away from the outside world. For our indigenous brothers and sisters, homes were shelters, wombs, spaces for nurturing families and connecting with communities. They were built to blend with specific environments and to adapt to changing seasons. These are principles that we are only beginning to adapt into our own homes and lives today. We cannot look at these traditional homes without actually acknowledging the wisdom behind every design. Humble yet resilient proof of Dayaw, our knowledge, our pride.